Hi, I'm Samantha McDouglas from thebridgeteachers.com. Come look over my shoulder at a play problem.
On this hand, we were the dealer, and we opened one heart, showing 5 or more hearts and an opening hand or better. Our partner bid one spade, showing 4 or more spades and 6 or more points. Our hand rebid 2 hearts, showing an extra heart, this should be 6 or more now, and 12 to 14 points. Our partner bid 4 hearts, saying that the partnership has a heart fit and enough points for a game, after which everyone passed. Our left-hand opponent led the 4 of hearts. Before you ever play a card, I want you to come up with as complete of a plan as possible. The first step in building a plan is assessing the hand. In a no-trump contract, we assess the hand by counting winners, and in a trump contract, we assess the hand by counting losers. Which hand would you count? The south hand. Why? Because it is the long trump hand. Let's take a moment and count losers from south. How many would you count? I would count 4 losers. We have 3 clubs, but we also have the king, queen, jack, so we should only be losing 1 club trick to the ace. In diamonds, we have 3 diamonds, and I would count all 3 of them as losers. In spades, how many losers would you count? 0. We have 1 spade, and we have the ace. We can play the ace on the 9 and not lose any spade tricks. In hearts, I would also count 0 because we have 9 hearts, the opponents only have 4, and we have the top 4 hearts. We need to get rid of 1 loser to make this hand. Let's go through our order of priority for getting rid of losers. Can we discard on this hand? Not immediately, but we do have suits that we can potentially make good for discards. When we discard, we are looking to play a good card when we are not following suit. You want to be short in the hand that you are setting up so that when you play the good card, you are able to throw a loser from the hand you're setting up. Right now we don't have that because in both of the suits that we are short in our hand, we aren't able to take that trick after we run out. If we look in clubs, we aren't out until after that 3rd trick, and we cannot necessarily take the 4th trick. What would have to happen for us to be able to take the 4th trick in clubs? We would have to be able to take a trick with the 9 of clubs. This could happen if the ace plays on little cards instead of covering the king, the queen, or the jack, or it also could happen if the 10 of clubs falls, because if the 10 of clubs falls, the 9 becomes good. In spades, in order to get a discard, we would have to be able to take the 2nd trick, because that 1st trick, we have to follow suit. How would we take the 2nd trick in spades? By taking a finesse. Our second way to get rid of losers is to trump. When we trump, we also need to be uneven, but we want to be short in the hand that we are not setting up so we can lead our loser and play a trump on our loser. Is this an option here on this hand? Yes, we could potentially trump a diamond. What would have to happen in order for us to be able to trump a diamond? The first thing that would have to happen is we would have to remove the jack and the 9 from dummy by losing those 2 tricks. Once we lost the jack and the 9, we could then lead our 3rd diamond, and as long as we have a trump in dummy, we would be able to trump. How many trump do the opponents have? They have 4. What are the 3 possible distributions of the opponent's hearts? They could be 2 and 2, they could be 3 and 1, and they could be 4 and 0. Which of those distributions will make it hard to trump a diamond? If it is 3 and 1 or 4, 0, and we draw 3 or 4 rounds of trumps, or the opponents play trump 3 or 4 times, we will not be able to trump a diamond. However, if the opponent's trumps are 2 and 2, we will always be able to trump a diamond. Our last option for getting rid of losers is finessing. Do we have a finesse here? Yes, we actually have 2 finesses that we could take. The first and most obvious is spades. We could take a spade finesse. The second finesse that we could take is we could finesse for the 10 of clubs. We only need to get rid of one loser, and we have several potential options. How would you prioritize them? My first choice would be to discard a diamond on the clubs. Failing that, I would want to trump a diamond. As an absolute last resort, I might take the spade finesse. Why have I prioritized our methods this way? Because discarding is our best option. Finessing is our least favorite option. If we are to get a discard on the spade suit, we need to finesse. Why would this be a problem? Because we don't have a spade loser. When you finesse, it should be a loser that you have. This way, if the finesse works, you get rid of the loser. You are ahead of where you started. You had a loser, you finessed, you got rid of it. If the finesse loses, you aren't any worse off because you already had a loser there. And there probably, because you chose finessing, wasn't any other way to get rid of it. But when we finesse when we don't have a loser, like in spades, now we are running the risk of losing a trick that we did not count. If the finesse works, this is great. We'll get rid of one of our losers, we'll make the hand. But if the finesse fails, instead of being where we were before the finesse, we will now actually be worse off. Because now instead of having 4 losers, we will have 5, and we will almost certainly be going down on this hand. Unless you have no other options, or there is some other mitigating factor, you don't generally want to finesse in a suit that doesn't have a loser. The easiest way to get rid of a loser here is actually to trump a diamond. But of course, the problem with that is if the trumps break 3 and 1 or 4-0, the opponents can prevent us from trumping a diamond by continuing to lead hearts. Our fallback plan would then be to set up the clubs and hopefully create a discard on that 4th club. We would need the opponents either to play the ace on little cards, which they're probably not going to do, or we would need the 10 to fall. Since we have 7, this is actually something we might hope for. When you have a hand like this, you need to build in contingencies. The defining factor in whether or not we can trump a diamond is what? How the trump break. So the first thing I would do is pull 2 rounds of trump. We don't want to pull a 3rd round of trump because if we do, we won't be able to trump a diamond. You could, alternatively, actually lead diamonds to start, but because the opponents have shown a willingness to lead hearts, it is unlikely that we will be able to trump a diamond if the hearts are 3 and 1 or 4 and 0. Our fallback position will then be clubs, and if and only if we can't make that 4th club trick good, will we go to the spade finesse. The good news on this hand is that the hearts turn out to be 2 and 2. So once this happens, we know that we will always be able to trump a diamond and we don't have to worry about it. We can go about setting up our club suit and seeing if we can get a discard, but ultimately we're going to just be trumping a diamond. Now we are making this hand. Let's go back and look at all 4 hands. If you take the spade finesse here, you go down. We didn't count a spade loser. If we take the finesse, we are now losing a trick that we didn't count. And now instead of having 4 losers, we have 5. And the really bad news is that those diamond losers and the club losers are quick losers. So now we aren't even going to have an opportunity to try any other method because now we are simply going to go down without having any chance to do anything. In a trump contract, finessing is a tool that we use to get rid of losers. If you don't have a loser, don't finesse. Because if you finesse, you now have something to lose. If you have a loser, you're not going to be any worse off if it loses, because you are always going to lose that trick. But if you don't have a loser, you now have given yourself the opportunity to lose something that you should have never been losing. Thank you. The longest days of the year are here. Like and subscribe to fill them with bridge.